Welcome to the Blue Cafe. This is for the haters. We're not conceding, just giving you something to shut you up so we can go back to our comment-heavy paradise in peace. We will feed you. Believe us. Now, on to the story. Wife screamed when I knocked on the window. I guess I'll go ahead and just start with a story of my marriage experience that lasted from 2020 to 2021. I apologize in advance if anything is lacking coherence or if anything seems a bit ambiguous. 2020 was a hard year for many, and I just somehow managed to fall into yet an extra pitfall of 2020. My very quick marriage to the person I trusted the most. January 1st, 2020, I got a text from my old acquaintance from freshman year in college, whom I haven't seen in years. Hey, I miss you. And if I could change one thing about 2020, it would be my entertainment of her texts and leading her into my wife that I worked so hard to build. I kind of had a crush on her in college, but I never really saw us getting into anything serious. She has been in a lot of unsuccessful relationships and seems to be the person you think really doesn't want anything serious to do with anybody. I know I made a big mistake. I have been working full-time for 2 years after university, and I was raised on premises such as structure, hard work for reward, emotions, seriousness, commitment, etc. I do, however, have my flaws too, since no one's perfect. Anyways, back to the story. Over the next couple months, we would text non-stop, and she would come over for about every other weekend, taking a 4-hour drive just to be with me. We were so happy. And she was really pushing me into proposing and getting married as soon as possible. When that didn't yield anything. In the beginning she brought the idea of a promise ring. And I think her persistence and me not experiencing such deep emotions ever before and falling in love led us to May 1st, 2020. When I proposed, we went the following day to court to get married. We were so happy, and she swore to change her bad habits, which I thought I got down pretty good, to come later to find out there's a whole other level to these. An example of the bad habits with smoking, which she convinced me at the time that she quit. We get on a rental lease around the same time and move into a house in the same city I lived in. We were so happy and excited that we're out here building the wife that we want. And we seem to agree on the big things like kids and families and stuff like that. After only about a month of living together before my ends, I was laying on the bed working from home one day when I noticed her phone right next to me light up with Snapchat and Twitter notifications. Now, I had previously learned her passcode as she told it to me once, and it's so easy that I never forgot. I entered it and peeked at the notifications. And I was shocked at what I saw. My whole body started shaking as we're still cuddled up and she's asleep. And here I am finding out that what she told me she does for a living was a complete lie in the crap. I saw the posts on Twitter and Snapchat and X sites and online X sites and figured it all out pretty quick. My wife that I just married has been streaming online for the past 3 years or so. I wasn't sure how to react as my body froze in bed. My shaking body eventually triggered her to wake up, and as soon as she did, she noticed how pale my face was in lack of eye contact and asked, "What's wrong?" I said nothing. Again, "What's wrong, babe? Are you okay?" I asked, "What do you do for a living?" as I slowly turned her phone towards her with a very detailed post of hers advertising her body on Twitter. And her reply was shocking and absolutely ridiculous. "How do you think I made all that money very fast and stayed up all night?" Yep, she's very quick to lay out her problems and lies to others very rapidly. I know some people are okay with streaming online and whatever. I just want to mention that it was very clear that this is something that will break our relationship forever. The following moments were moments of her crying on bed and trying to hug and kiss me and tell me she's sorry and won't ever do it again. And she would quit and do anything for me and to make me happy, and that it's a soul-destroying job and so on. Yep, my Doma didn't see anything short of forgiving her, and we carried on with working on building our marriage. And like they say, when trust is broken, everything is pretty much broken. I would start the habit of checking her phone every now and then. And I caught her secretly streaming online and sexting clients and friends with benefits like a psychiatrist, for example. And off we go. Don't lie again, forgive again. I don't recall how many times I forgave her for lying and not sticking to such an important promise to me in such a sensitive moment, but it must have been 2 to 3 times after May. Eventually we started seeing a marriage counselor for a few months, and unsurprisingly it was mostly assignments for her to work on her issues of how she needs to feel desired, loved by men, etc. And let me just say that we had the greatest sex life and greatest emotional journey together during the good moments. Of course, our marriage seemed to be showing good signs of repair over the next few times going to the therapist, but eventually all hell broke loose. I lost it. December 1st, she starts texting her psychiatrist again and exchanging explicit photos and vacation plans for prescriptions and cash. I did forget to mention that I have a very long history of all these conversations in the form of text screenshots. I remember that day I couldn't sleep but pretended to. We were in the same bed, and when the sun came out, I couldn't hold in the feelings of hurt any longer. I went to my computer while she was still asleep and printed the divorce forms, filled them out rather fairly considering what she's done, and woke her up with a simple "I need you to sign this." She was so confused, so I had to elaborate and tell her these are divorce papers. You don't deserve someone like me. I had enough lies. I can't trust you again. Even if I wanted to save us both the head and heartaches and sign this, she starts crying and goes into a breakdown. I got no signature that day. Unfortunately, her mom drove down worried after what happened, and I didn't exactly tell her what's been going on, but kept it simple. Our trust is broken, and I can't trust her anymore. This is for the better. After a week of back and forth talk between us, she finally agreed to sign it, wanting us to stay friends. Remember my doom, eh? Yes, I said yes, let's stay friends, and open to her another smaller part of my heart as a friend who cares about her still and provides some of her needs since her streaming online income was no longer present. One of our main agreements as friends who will live together for the remainder of the lease was to not have anybody over, guys in her case and women in my case. We had our separate bedrooms and tried to focus on our lives. It only took 2 weeks on December 16th. And I wake up randomly at 1 a.m. and I see a text from her saying she has a friend over. I text her my disappointment since it's clearly a guy in there, and I felt so disrespected. No answer. I get my phone and go into the backyard and get a good video of what's going in the bedroom. Had I waited 10 more seconds they would have been all in each other deep. I knocked on the glass creepily as I'm filming her absolute lies and deceptiveness, and the guy starts to leave. This was probably the first time I yelled at her throughout the entire year of marriage and called her garbage and disgusting and so on. We came to a resolution after the fighting that she would take over the lease till it ends in May 2021 and would be responsible for the entire rent amount. I started apartment searching and ended up moving and adjusting this week, January 9th, 2021. Keep in mind 2 things. The first is that in order to take my name off the lease, I had to pay the remaining half of the rent for the next month, and we agreed she would pay me those back on a payment plan since she doesn't really have a steady job and she went back to streaming online now. That agreement was handed yesterday to her and is yet to be signed. The second thing is I have all my property of the house that we lived in except for my washer and dryer that I agreed to leave with her as a little help till the end of January 2021, trying to decide if I should stick to that agreement now since she almost make a fuss out of everything and will let go of anything easy. Anyways, that same night I finalized my move out 10 minutes later, and with a 20-minute notice she brought another guy over to move some furniture around, a guy she met on Bumble whom she keeps stressing how successful and rich he is. I find myself spending the night in a motel near my new place since the electricity is out. I don't want to reach out to her since I feel like just cutting her off completely from my wife 100%. I started watching cheating wife videos on YouTube, and the Reddit storytelling once brought me here to share my story with you about my infertile ex-wife. My ex-wife deceived me and manipulated me. I was the dumb nice guy who worked overtime trying to find stability on our shaky grounds, and yet I don't get support from her. Instead all I get is hurt and disrespect even on good terms. I'm glad we had no wedding, and I feel sorry any single soul she decides to manipulate in the future. Yes, she's very good at it and I'm a dummy, but overall I'm glad it only took me less than a year to find out who she really is and what she really wants to change about herself. No kids, all financial support except for some furniture she got was for my income and hardware, and I can let go of this person forever now, even if she comes back on her knees with another "Hey, I miss you." Learned a lot if you made this far. You're all awesome and great listeners to a not so great writer. I hope I get better at it and provide more updates with time. But for me, all I wanted was to vent and air out some steam, because for her it's so easy to find a guy and sleep with, but for me I'm still in shock and questioning who the heck did I marry, lol. We hope you have enjoyed today's episode. Please comment, like and subscribe. Cheers. Have a wonderful day or night, wherever you are.